2024 was a fantastic year for anime. So many amazing projects were released, and in a time when I felt like I've watched everything good there is to watch, this year came as a great surprise. It felt like a new dam opened, giving me so much more hope for the future. There were so many good anime this year, and it was easily the hardest time I've had ranking them. As always, here's all the anime I watched. I'm not including weekly anime that started before 2024 like One Piece, or seasonal anime that started in 2024 but haven't finished yet. And if I include an anime that started in 2023 and finished in 2024, I'm taking the whole thing into consideration. So, without further ado, let's get into the top 5 anime of 2024.
Sexy girl!
Just kidding. We gotta start with the honorable mentions first. Go-Go Loser Ranger was a show I was really excited for. I remember hearing about the premise a few years ago and had always meant to pick up the manga at some point, but never did. And when I heard about the anime, I was really looking forward to it. But unfortunately, as cool as a concept it is, and as great as the opening was, something about it just fell flat. The animation most of the time was just eh. The events weren't particularly surprising, and the main characters weren't as interesting as I'd hoped they'd be. Honestly, now that I'm saying this, I think like maybe Mashal Season 2 should have gotten this spot, but the next honorable mention was actually really close. It was Oshinoko Season 2. It had the same fantastic animation from last season, an engaging plot that moved forward and answered a lot of our questions, and some pretty nice romance moments. Honestly, this was in the top 5 until I watched the spot you're about to see. So with that said, let's get into the actual top 5 anime of 2024.
I'm gay. Gay means happy.
Gay doesn't mean happy, it means you bum other boys.
Just kidding, I got you again. It's actually going to be the top 6 anime, but 6 and 5 are tied, so I'm giving them both the 5 spot. And those anime are Haikyuu, The Dumpster Battle, and Kaiju number 8. When I was trying to decide between these two, I just kept going back and forth. Kaiju number 8 is longer, but Haikyuu had better peaks. Kaiju number 8's animation definitely had better peaks, but Haikyuu's was consistently at a higher level. Kaiju number 8 had amazing fights, but Haikyuu had an amazing battle, the Battle of Volleyball. You get the point. The Haikyuu movie was so good. It truly embodied the competitive spirit of sports, and I found myself constantly thinking, man, I wish I played more sports growing up. It was a match we had been waiting for since we were introduced to Nakoma, and it had been 4 years since the last Haikyuu season, so I was fiending. I was so eager, I read through Blue Lock, which unfortunately didn't make the list this year, spoiler alert, although the last episode was great. Anyways, Haikyuu was great. The animation, the music, the flashbacks, the emotion conveyed through this volleyball game was unlike anything else I've seen this year. And that moment when Hinata screamed because he made Kenma enjoy himself was so good. The whole movie, I was waiting for one of them to just lose it like that, and it was just as impactful as I had expected. Moving on, Kaiju number 8. I basically binged this whole show in one night, stayed up until 8 AM watching it, and I don't regret it at all. The rock music whenever Kafka was transformed was so fitting and elevated the anime a great deal. The fights were awesome, just giant monsters fucking shit up and then getting fucked up. The animation was great too. It held a consistent style, and they turned up the heat whenever it was necessary. The show truly felt like we went back to the basics while still feeling unique. Something about it just gave me that nostalgic feeling. Seeing a group of people fighting together to become stronger, it kind of reminded me of Class A and My Hero, and all the exposition we got of them being friendly really made the camaraderie shown at the end hit that much harder. Both these anime were great, and I really could not sit well putting either one in the honorable mentions while the other is in the top 5. They are pretty much completely interchangeable to me, and honestly, that could be said for pretty much any anime on this list. Regardless, these next 4 are singular and ordered, so let's move on.
Lalo, you out with us tonight? Me and Mark going out. You're grounded. Your girl won't let you.
Guys, what do you think number 4 is? Alright, enough thinking. It's Free Ren Beyond a Journey's End. This show is quite possibly the most well-animated show I have ever watched. Even in this age of exceedingly amazing animation, there are so many moments where I just was completely blown away by the things on my screen. Free Ren versus her clone? That shit was insane. Stark versus the dragon? When he was hanging onto its head and it was flying, I was like, there's no way they drew this. Stark putting on his shirt? Why was that so well animated? There were so many moments that were clearly animated with so much care and skill that I was genuinely in awe. The show could honestly get a spot on this list with the animation alone, but in this case, Frieren didn't settle. The characters are fun, the premise of a story taking place after the actual important events have long since transpired is extremely interesting, and all the fights are easily 10 out of 10. I enjoy the banter of the main three, and all of the flashbacks to the hero party who saved the world were great. This anime doesn't lack in any one aspect. Everything I take into consideration when rating an anime, it has at a high level. Characters, character design, animation, music, power system, fights, plot, concept, world building, pacing, it has it all. Not to mention it's got one of the hardest scenes of the entire year. As I keep saying, the show could have easily been higher on the list, and I wouldn't fault anyone for having it even at number 1, but as great as it was still lacking the X factor that could bring it beyond. That wasn't meant to be a pun about the name, but I do now realize that that's what that was. The premise was interesting, but it ultimately held the show back a bit, lowering the stakes and making everything feel just a bit more mundane, which obviously they made even the mundane things look cool, so it's not bad, but it does stop it from breaking into the top 3. Speaking of the top 3, let's move on.
Yeah, dispatcher, I'm just pulling around the corner now.
Here it is. The podium. Who's gonna get bronze? I bet you haven't guessed yet, and I bet you never will. Because it's Food Wars Season 6, the mythical season everyone has been waiting for since the untimely cancellation of the manga. People just couldn't handle when manga went in a different direction and got freaky. Food Wars Season 6, also known as Delicious Dungeon, was an anime that I looked forward to every single week. It was the first time in a long time I found myself actually counting the days to each new episode. The animation was fantastic, always clean with a consistent style and dynamic when necessary. And although not as well animated as Frieren, it had something Frieren didn't. The X Factor, as I stated previously. A story about this party simply going through the dungeon to save another member would be great. But the addition of recipes and food made with the creatures within the dungeon was such a fantastic idea and made for some of the most fun I've had watching in an anime all year. Every single episode brought a new wacky recipe, and all of their reactions to said recipe were always a highlight of the episode. Not to mention Senshi, who was probably one of my favorite characters of the year. He's so well designed, and a dwarven master cook with a mysterious past added a lot to the season when all the other characters feel fairly simple. Also, it was pretty funny. Moving on.
Oh my god!
Go take a look at my channel. What was the last video I uploaded? Spoiler, it's number 2. I made a video about it last week. It's Dan to Dan. Easily my most anticipated anime of the year. And it did not let me down at all. Beautiful, seamless animation that matches the wacky supernatural nature of the show while still making everything a joy to watch. Amazing music that perfectly fits the show, cool modern character designs that grab your attention and make all the characters feel even more real, and a fresh and unique story, the likes of which can't be compared to anything else I've seen. Okuran and Momo are such fantastic characters. Their dynamic is great, and the romance blossoming between them has been a fantastic sight to see develop. Then, there's also Gigi and Ira, who are just as enjoyable, and as I said in my last video, both make the romance between Momo and Okuran that much more engaging. The Granny is cool too, and so is Turbo Granny. All these characters are great. The show is funny, heartwarming, and heartbreaking, with the classic fantastic fights we've come to expect from modern shonen. Anyways, I've already made a video about this, so if you want to hear more, just go watch that. It's really good, and I promise you'll enjoy it, and I'll leave a link to it in the description. Now, let's get on to the #1 anime of 2024.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies with gentle hands, old people with pension plans, those of you who graduated and have less exams, those of you who showed up to flex some bands, even the bitter and desperate mans.
I know what you must be thinking. Lamone, you've already mentioned all the best anime of the year. What could possibly be #1? I was reincarnated as the 7th prince? No, that would be fucking ridiculous. Anyways, in a year of fantastic debuts, all the new anime just being so good, the #1 was the return to form of an old great. A show that once ruled the lands. Everyone was talking about it, but a couple underwhelming seasons in a row saw it fall to the accusations of mid. But now, it's back, better than ever. The last season was good, but this one was basically perfect. It's My Hero Academia Season 7. This season truly blew me away. Everything about it was everything I could ever dream of. The animation, the music, the voice acting, the pacing, everything was perfect. It was better than season 1, 2, 3, and any other season you're thinking of. This show moved me, and I mean that. There were a multitude of times when I was so blown away by the quality that I actually shed a few tears of joy. Not because of the writing and how sad it was, but because I was just so happy that this series I've loved for so long has been blessed with such a fantastic adaptation. The direction this season was genuinely some of the best I've seen in a very long time. Coming off of things like Jujutsu Kaisen last year, Call of the Night the year before that, and numerous other fantastically directed anime, I really was not expecting to be moved in the way I was. It truly felt like I could feel their passion through the screen. Every single frame, every single music note, every single voice, it all felt intentional, and it all felt as though it was filled with pure passion. The Endeavor prominence burn scene after he moved past his younger self, the Ice Jet Recipro, the Gently Super Lover scene, Iron Might, Bakugo's final moments, the Big 3 Super Laser attack, Dobby's defeat, all these moments just left me thinking, so cool, while a tear slid down my cheek. And I want to bring specific attention to the voice acting, because it was so good. Endeavor's speech to himself and All For One, the Todoroki family's final speech, Mirio's closed mouth scream when he punched Shigaraki during the laser attack, pretty much anything Shigaraki said, and pretty much anything Mirko said, Bakugo's final speech, everything All Might was saying during his fight, Gentle's return, all these moments had the voice actors working at full throttle, and it added so much to the production. I could talk about this season forever, but I'm gonna stop myself here. I had planned on making it its own video, but I never got around to it, so I guess this will suffice. Or maybe not, we'll see, I don't know, maybe I'll make it. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, and anyone else out there, that is all. 2024 has been a fantastic year, and I can't wait to see the second seasons of all the wonderful debuts, the final season of My Hero, and the next Haikyuu movie. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see y'all in the next one. Adeuces!